Once upon a time, there lived a woman who made kings tremble and saints bow in reverence. Her name was Akka Mahadevi, and she became the most dangerous witch southern India had ever seen. Not because she cursed people, but because she discovered the secret to being completely free, while everyone around you stays trapped. Here's what makes this story extraordinary. By the end, you'll understand exactly how her radical choices contain life-changing wisdom that could transform your existence forever, if you approach them with the same level of commitment and intensity she did. Born around 1130 CE in a small village called Uduthadi, this girl named Punitavati was composing mystical poetry, while other teenagers worried about fitting in. At age 10, she underwent the sacred Linga Diksha initiation into Shiva worship. But here comes the revolution that would reshape her entire destiny. This child declared herself spiritually married to Lord Shiva, whom she called Channa Mallikarjuna, meaning beautiful jasmine flower. She wrote passionate poetry describing her divine husband's physical beauty, his shining red locks, and even teeth. Then she made a declaration that shattered every social expectation. But for my Channa Mallikarjuna, all men are mere dolls. She was rejecting the entire concept of earthly marriage, male authority, and the idea that a woman's value comes through belonging to a man. At 16 years old. But the universe decided to test her resolve in the most brutal way possible. King Kausika, a powerful Jain ruler, became obsessed with her extraordinary beauty. When she refused his marriage proposal outright, he threatened her family with death or exile. Her terrified parents begged her to accept. Here's where Akka's strategic genius emerged. She agreed to marry the king, but on one absolutely non-negotiable condition. He could never force intimacy upon her without her explicit consent. The king, drunk on desire and convinced he could eventually break her resistance, agreed to these terms. For months, she lived as queen in his palace, but remained internally detached, like a bird that refuses to sing even when caged in gold. She continued her devotional practices, maintaining her spiritual marriage while navigating this impossible situation. Then came the moment that would birth a legend. King Kausika violated his sacred promise and attempted to force marital intimacy upon her. Then, in the full royal court, surrounded by nobles and ministers, she declared her intention to leave immediately. The king, in absolute fury, demanded she return every single royal gift. The jewels, silk garments, precious ornaments, everything he had given her. What happened next demonstrates the true power of her mystical attainment. In front of the entire royal assembly, Akka stripped herself completely naked. Through her supernatural siddhis, her advanced spiritual powers, thick black hair instantly manifested to cover her entire body from head to toe. This was Shiva's direct divine intervention to preserve her modesty before hundreds of witnesses. She spoke these words that still echo through the corridors of time. The last thread of clothing can be stripped away, but who can peel off emptiness? That nakedness covering all. Fools, while I dress in the Jasmine Lord's morning light, I cannot be shamed. Then she walked out of that palace, completely naked, protected only by her miraculous hair covering, and began what would become the most extraordinary pilgrimage in recorded history. 500 miles to Kalana, the center of the Lingayat spiritual movement, on foot, completely exposed to the elements and society's judgment. Let me say that again. She walked 500 miles on foot from that palace, where she escaped and journeyed with only her hair covering her body. She faced constant mockery, ridicule, and threats from conventional society as she walked breast to breast with the cosmos, in complete unity with nature itself. Each step represented deeper ego dissolution, deeper surrender to divine will. Yet she never wavered, never turned back, never compromised her truth for comfort. When she finally reached Kalana, she encountered the Anubhava Mantapa, the world's first spiritual parliament. Over 200 enlightened seekers gathered there, including more than 30 women saints. But even among these spiritually advanced beings, her arrival created intense skepticism. Here comes this stunningly beautiful young woman, completely naked, except for supernatural hair covering, claiming to be a fully realized soul. Allama Prabhu, the revered master presiding over this spiritual assembly, decided to test her credentials with a piercing challenge. Why come you hither, O woman in the budding blossom of youth? If you can tell your husband's identity, come sit, else pray, be gone. Her response shattered every assumption in that room. All of mankind are my parents, while all the stars and planets looked on as witnesses. My guru gave my hand into his. The linga became the groom, and I the bride. Therefore is Chenna Mallikarjuna my husband, and I have no interest in any other of this world. After extensive theological discussions, Allama Prabhu finally declared, "Your body is female in appearance, but your mind is merged with God." She was accepted with the highest honor and given the title Akka, elder sister. She became one of their most influential voices, composing vachanas, mystical poetry, that cut through religious pretension like a sword through silk. Her verses used brilliant metaphors, describing her relationship with the material world as an unhappy marriage. I have Maya for mother-in-law, the world for father-in-law, 3 brothers-in-law like tigers, and the husband's thoughts are full of laughing women. But I will give this wench the slip and go cuckold my husband with Hara, my lord. After years at the spiritual parliament, Akka felt called to complete her ultimate transformation. She journeyed to Srisailam, the sacred mountain where Agastya Muni, one of the original disciples of Shiva was also called Adiyogi, the first yogi. Agastya Muni had established the spiritual foundation of southern India 20,000 years earlier. At the Kadalivana caves near Srisailam temple, she began practicing what she described as 40 years' worth of spiritual austerities in compressed time. She was deliberately accelerating the typical timeline of spiritual evolution through extreme practices derived from her treatises Mantragopya and Yoganga Trividi. Then came the event that transforms this from biography into something that challenges everything we think we know about reality. Multiple reliable witnesses reported that during her final meditation, Akka Mahadevi was consumed in a flash of brilliant white light. Her body completely vanished. No remains, no trace. Complete dematerialization. She had achieved Sayujya Mukti, total merger with divine consciousness, leaving behind only 430 mystical poems and the memory of impossible love. Now here's how this changes your life forever. Akka mastered the art of internal freedom while navigating external pressure. She showed us that when you commit to something greater than other people's opinions, you become unstoppable. She proved that authentic boundaries create divine protection. She demonstrated that vulnerability during transformation is temporary but necessary. Most importantly, she taught us that when you love your highest truth with complete intensity, even physical limitations become negotiable. The same unlimited consciousness that operated through Akka exists within you right now. The question is, what are you willing to sacrifice for your freedom? How much pressure can you handle while staying true to yourself? Because when you commit the way Akka committed, everything becomes possible, even disappearing into pure light.